Hey everyone, welcome back to more talk on Dungeons and Dragons. This is definitely a pattern. Every Saturday I'm going to do some discussion about what came on my mind when thinking about Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So, this one I don't have as much of a list. This one I kind of just got inspired randomly at the end of last night, so hopefully this still works out though. As I want to talk about an old video I made. So, if you go back to the infancy, back before this was even a Twitch channel, when this was just the YouTube channel, there's this old video I have where I talk about the Wizard versus the Sorcerer. Specifically, the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, when this was first released into Unearthed Arcana. So, it's been a very long time since that happened. I kind of want to... First off, that video is a bit controversial. There's a few points I made that I think one of them is just completely incorrect, and there are definitely issues with that video. I don't think I got my point across exactly what I was trying to do. There was a lot of places where I could have done better. Anyways, I'm here to try to fix that. I'm here to try to make a better video to explain my point more thoroughly with better description of what was going on. So, also kind of talk about something I realized with the solution, kind of my issues going on, and how they got fixed, or where they got fixed. So let's at least explain the main issue. So, what's the difference between a sorcerer and a wizard? So, the sorcerer, by definition, they're a person of raw magic, of unexplained powers. They're just a person of raw magical power. And this is shown through meta magic. So they get these sorcery points that they can do all these powerful things, like subtle cast the spell, twin cast the spell, quick cast the spell, heighten cast the spell. They can do all those powerful things on their own. They don't need any special abilities or anything. That's part of their meta magic. Then they have their origin features. So that is the power of the sorcerer. Now, as for the wizard, they're the scholars of the arcane. They're the lure of knowledge. They're the characters that try to learn everything they can. And so they have this spell book of all these different spells they could learn. And basically, the wizard's power is their spell book, and therefore their versatility of spells. So the difference between the sorcerer and the wizard is power versus versatility. So sorcerers are supposed to be more powerful. Wizards are supposed to be more versatile. And my main issue, I think I should have accounted for the other half, is that they're kind of flipping sides. So, with the Aberrant Mind, we have these 10 additional spells. Actually, 11 in the Aberrant Mind specifically, but there are 10 additional spells on top of their normal class feature spells. So, usually I took the example of 9th level, which I recognize as extreme, but nonetheless, a level that exists between the two. So at 9th level, 10 spells, normally, just from being a sorcerer. And then if you're an Aberrant Mind, another 10 on top of that. So a total of 20 spells each day. In addition, these additional spells, if you don't like one of them, hey, any divination or enchantment spell from any of these 3 spell lists. Clockwork Soul has the same thing, except this time with abjuration and transmutation spells. You're not going to be these kind of sorcerers if you don't have ideas what you can do with these. So I want to be clear. That's 20 spells prepared at all times. Let's take a wizard at 9th and 10th level. So 9th level, you'll notice they don't have the number of spells known, because the number of spells known is equal to their level plus their intelligence modifier. Which, let's just say at 9th level, you manage to get all the way to 20. So that's 9 plus 5. That's 14 spells prepared. The Mr. Lure of Knowledge person has 6 less spells prepared than the sorcerer. Now, the counter to this is that wizards can ritual cast. Any spell that's in their spell book that's a ritual, they can do. Ooh, another thing is they could switch them out. And this is where my video kind of got in, and so first let's address each of them one at a time. So first let's talk about rituals, because I have that prepared. So right over here is every ritual spell in the game, listed down. Also, this says there's 22, but do note it treats Rary Telepathic Bond and Telepathic Bond, even though they're the exact same spell. It treats it as 2 different ones, so once you account for that, there's only 18 spells. And most of them are first level. Most of them are just kind of utilities. These 18 spells are the only spells you can cast as a ritual if you're a wizard. Also note, not every wizard wants all these spells. Like, Alarm. I don't think my evocationist really cares about putting on alarms when I would rather drop a fireball. Identify. This spell isn't even very useful in some cases, because it takes 11 minutes to basically cast. It takes a material component that's 100 gold pieces, and most people just do it in an hour anyways. Floating Disc. Some campaigns don't even care about this, they just have a big old barbarian that carries it around for them. Find Familiar. Okay, Find Familiar is a good one. Find Familiar is a good one. This is basically a class feature. I'm actually shocked that Find Familiar is not also a sorcerer spell, because, like, at least historically, they both had familiars. Illusory Script, some campaigns, this is completely useless. Same with Identify. Gentle Repose is more of a cleric theme, but, I mean, hey, nice that you can use that. Feign Death. How often, like, congratulations, you have this as a backup, it's basically free, but it's like, not all of these spells are valuable. And it's always these 18 spells. So you could say, hey, they have these 18 spells, therefore they don't have 14, they have 32. Well, more than, I'd say at least half of these are useless on a vast majority of cases. Like, and a lot of them kind of do similar things. They're all detection. Most of them are divination, detect magic, comprehend languages. Alarm is effectively objuration being a sort of detection. Identify, divination. Like, they're all just kind of sensing. Some of them, like Liam and Tiny Hunt, great. Great as a utility. This is like one of those spells that you just kind of have. And, okay, also note, we are assuming you're giving your wizards spells, spell scrolls to find all of these, because let's say you get to 5th level, you want Fireball and Fly. Well, there's not going to be space for Liam and Tiny Hut then. There's not going to be space for Phantom Steed. There's not going to be space for Water Breathing. So unless you find those spell scrolls, you're going to be out of luck, even though you are at the level. So these aren't even like class features until you find those items. And, I mean, people assume you're going to find spell scrolls, but you don't know which spell scrolls you're going to find. So, there's a lack of, even though all these rituals give you more spells, most of them aren't that useful. Most of them aren't that useful in the vast majority of campaigns. Rary's Telepath Bond, I'll say again, that was a good one. But you have to note, Ritual Caster is a feat. As long as you're playing feats in your game, everyone could get, anyone who has an intelligence of 13 can take a feat and get those 18 spells. In my video, I made a joke that my favorite wizard would be an Aberrant Mind Sorcerer pretending to be a wizard with the Ritual Caster feat. It would, 20 spells here, that would be, plus the ritual spells from the wizard, that would be 38 spells prepared, plus all the cantrips. So, I was saying in the theme, that at the end of the video, my conclusion was basically there should only be 1 row of spells instead of 2, and the wizard needs some way to switch out his spells. I think I gave the option of during short rests they could switch out like a number of spells through their intelligence modifier to re-prepare for the next situation. And keep in mind, this was back when it was in Unearthed Arcana. So now that it's here, well, we're going to ignore the issue of the Aberrant Mind and Clockwork Soul now being overpowered compared to the other Sorcerer's Origins. We will address that later, but we're just going to look at these two right now, because these are the ones that I'm assuming all future archetypes are going to be around. So with those, you do have more spells prepared than the wizard. I'm wondering if that's forever. Like, at the end, they're going to have like 25 spells prepared, and they're going to have... Yeah, they both have about 25 spells prepared at 20th level. So, they only stay even at the very end. They only come back to even at the very end. Well, I think Wizard actually gets, like, some small abilities. Yeah, they get signature spells, so they'd have 27. Woo. But, yeah, so the optional class features, like, I just wanted them to get a utility to switch out their spells. And they at least get the ability to switch out cantrips. But then we have this weird issue, and this is where the really weird stuff happens, because keep in mind, the reason that I dislike that the Sorcerer has as many, if not more, spells prepared than the Wizard, is because the Sorcerer has metamagic. Metamagic is their huge theme. They have these abilities to do all these different empowered effects. They are the powerful caster. They know a few themes, but they are really good at what they know. They're able to do it better than the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer is able to do it better than the Wizard. Why? Well, I don't know. It's just kind of off of instinct. This is what I do. Then the Wizard, their theme is they're supposed to know many skills, and then just kind of be able to switch around, do what's best for the situation. Except if you look at kind of their schools of magic, a lot of them kind of force you to do one sort of spell. I'm trying to think of a good example right now. Evocation, yes. So sculpt spells only works when you're using evocation spells. Potent Cantrip only works for evocation cantrips. Empowered Evocation works on evocation spells. Like, all these abilities kind of do this weird thing where Sculpt Spell is just Careful Spell, except better and doesn't cost meta magic. And you get this weird effect where the Evocation Wizard knows less spells than the Sorcerer, but is naturally more powerful than the Sorcerer. It's just, like, that's not what's supposed to be happening. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. So it's like the Wizard is taking the role of the Sorcerer, and the Sorcerer is taking the role of the Wizard. And I was like, what's going on? So I do like some of the new Wizard archetypes being these interesting things like Blade Scening. But I've been having that issue that the Sorcerers gain all these weird versatilities, and the Wizards gain nothing to compensate, so the Wizards being less resourceful. And then, so anyways, that was the video. That was the original video. So I want to talk about two things that I figured out recently. This is why this is new, because I just recently was trying to make that Sorcerer, the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, for a campaign. And, I ended up looking at what magic items I would be interested in. So I decided to look at Tasha's Cauldron of Everything for its magic items. And I found the solution in here. I didn't even realize they did this. So, in these magic items, everyone has their, the all-purpose tool is kind of the Rod of the Pact Keeper, except for Artificers. They have the Arcane Grimoire, which is, again, the Rod of the Pact Keeper, except for the Wizard. Just does one little thing, you get an additional Arcane Recovery point, so you get one more additional spell. And then, hey, like, one of the things that people don't like about Sorcerers is they don't get enough Sorcery points. Well, here's the Sorcerer's version of Rod of the Pact Keeper, so they get the +1, +2, or +3 to their save you throw DCs. And then whenever they spend hit dice during a short rest, they can regain 5 Sorcery points. So that's +5 Sorcery points. That is a huge benefit. That is what people needed for the Sorcerer, more Sorcery points. This is perfect. This is what the Sorcerer needed to be the impact powerful. But then I'm still like, what about the versatility? What about the Wizard's versatility? And then I just ran into an Alchemical Compendium. So let's just read this magic item. And so, it's actually no, let's go with the Astronomy Archive. Okay, Atlas of Endless Horizons. This is one with the cool looking picture. But yeah, as you kind of notice, because there were 3 that I chose between. There's 8 of these, 1 for each school of magic. So, it's a thick book, it's a rare item, attuned only by a wizard. Thick book, bound in dark leather, crisscrossed and inlaid silver lines of a map or chart. Basically, it's all this details. It has some spells already in it, so if you're having problems with deciding what spell scrolls to give them, hey, here's 7 spell scrolls that just naturally gives you, because this is what you would want if you're going for this sort of build. And then here's the huge thing. It has 3 charges, and what does it do? You could spend a charge and 1 minute studying the book, and replace one of your prepared wizard spells with a different spell in the book. The new spell must be of a certain school of magic. That's the versatility. That's the versatility. That's the wizard having effectively more spells, because while yes, I have less spells prepared than the Sorcerer, I now could switch out for the situation for a plethora of spells. This is effectively saying, hey, the problem with ritual casting is there's only 18 spells. Well, what are you a specialist in? Let's turn those into ritual spells in a way. You can, if you spend time, you have the focus, you can switch them out, you can get those spells. You can ritual cast, the thing that makes the wizard better than the sorcerer. Ritual casting, the ability to have this backup spells, not able to cast in a moment's notice, but something you can think through, prepare, and counterattack with. That's exactly what I was looking for. This ability is what I was looking for. Basically, these Atlas of Endless Horizons, for Conjuration, there's one for Evocation, there's one for Transmutation, there's one for every school of magic, and a very rare one that does it for anything. I don't really care about that very rare one. That might be a little too potent. But, that was so important to me, that they actually have a way to switch this out. Like, and this was my thing. I was so angry because I don't look at magic items. I don't pay attention to these new magic items. It's just, that's the DM's job if I'm making a character. And as a DM, if a player doesn't tell me, like, I just use random tables. People don't usually build expecting magic items. But if a DM can give you this item, just this one ability for your school of magic, that is so different. that solves the problem. That makes it so that the wizard feels like a wizard, with the sorcerer still getting all their additional spells. Because yes, okay, let's just be fair. The sorcerer needs more spells. They need at least one row of spells to make them more versatile, to make it so you could choose 10 spells, and you're not locked because everyone has to pick Fireball, you know? Like, this is what they needed. And it was hidden over in Magic Items. I never saw it. And I'm so glad I finally saw it. Oh man. So yes, I just want to let people know, the Atlas of Endless Horizons, the Chemical Compendium for Transmutation. There's another one, the Astronomy Archive, which is the Divination. There's at least one for each of the schools of magic. Plus there's this one that's, I'll try to find it, but there's one that's just like all of them. I would not recommend the very rare one. There's, I think it's like a Crystalline Chronicle. Here it is. Very rare. This one does any spell. I would not recommend this one. This one probably applies too much versatility for the wizard. But I would give the rare ones. If you're giving an enchanter wizard, give him the ability to switch to enchantment spells over a minute. Give them time to be versatile, to be what it is to be a wizard. Because that was my issue, and I didn't explain it thoroughly. That my issue with a wizard is it didn't feel like a wizard. It felt like a sorcerer. It felt like a sorcerer that just changed it, that just during long rests, before the next adventure, would do a little switch here and there. Like, generally speaking, with this game, with how powerful with the way spells work, you find that you don't need to switch them out too often, or if you do, at least with my case, we don't get many spell scrolls in my games, so I never got the opportunity to switch them out. And so my wizards always felt like sorcerers. And this changes that. These tomes, this Astronomy Archive, the Atlas of Endless Horizons, they fix the problem with the wizards. Now you're going to probably think, well, what about sorcerers? Because my general theme is, hey, look at what they're doing with the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. They're fixing the sorcerer. They know that there's an issue. They're fixing the problem. The theme that I kept getting annoyed by is they didn't realize that the wizard also had a problem and they weren't fixing it. Turns out they were. It was just in magic items, and I wasn't paying attention, because I was being a little stupid. Thank you. I want to get that off my chest. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.